Hello Ram fan, my name is Jeff Garner and welcome to this week's edition of Inside Cleveland Rams Football with head coach Scott Riley. As always, I'm joined by the coach. Coach, thanks a lot for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's get right to it, Coach. Another huge win for the Rams this past week. This time it was on the road at South Johnston. Rams win 70-54. If I didn't know any better, I would have said we were at the basketball game.
Yeah.
The basketball teams don't even score those kind of points. So, first time the Rams have actually hit a 70-point mark in their 6-year history. Talk about it a little bit for us.
Great offensive performance. Obviously, we got a lot of work to do on the defensive side of the ball, but yeah, the offense was clicking
Absolutely.
The whole game, and really couldn't ask a whole lot more of what they did on that side of the ball. So at the end of the day, we're happy to get a conference win in a game where we didn't play as well as we could have on one side of the ball. So you win the other two phases of the game, it gives you a chance. So we're proud of that part of it.
Absolutely. Well, as we've said in the past few weeks, Coach, the way the conference is laid out, conference champion will be, in all, most likelihood, the team that's able to go undefeated in conference play. With the wins, like you said, the Rams were able to do just that. They're now 2-0 in the conference. Important win, obviously, from that aspect.
Yeah, obviously, all the conference wins are real important at this point in the year. Kind of like a playoff type scenario. You win, you move on. But two of the more dangerous teams in the conference, getting those out of the way right out the gate, sets us up well going down the line. So
Absolutely.
Very important win for us, and playing in different circumstances we're used to with the weather the way it was,
Yep.
playing on Saturday afternoon. So anything can happen when you play out of your usual element. So we're happy to get the win.
I thought the Rams and the coaches all around. I mean, I thought they seemed to adjust well to that change in day and time and all those kind of things. I thought we responded well to that.
Yeah, I really do, and in a certain aspect, I think it might have benefited us a bit on the offensive side of the ball. It's always hard to throw there at night because it's usually a darker type stadium, and obviously it wasn't in the middle of the day,
Right.
so it helped there. And the atmosphere wasn't what you usually like at a game, so that might have affected the motion and the defense for both teams in that regard. So, but yeah, it's playing outside of the element, and I told them hopefully that'll be practice for the state championship.
There you go.
We'll probably be in the middle of the day.
That'd be nice.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
So.
Well, similar to the previous game against Triton, South Johnston jumped out quick on us. Fabian McDonald had a 75-yard touchdown on the Trojans' first drive, and after recovering a Rams fumble, DeParis Patterson took it in from 24 yards out to take a 14-0 lead early in the first quarter. What were your thoughts about those two quick scores, Coach?
A little disappointed the way we came out the gate. Obviously, in such an important game, in two in a row, we've got jumped right out the gate. So it was something we were trying to improve upon it and didn't do that. So that part was a little disappointing. Hopefully, it's something we can fix. Next week against Triple S, because they've started on us fast the last 2 years as well. So hopefully we can get out the gate a little bit better and fix some things pre-game so we're ready to go.
Well, however, following those two scores, the Rams stormed back with 14 points of their own. A 36-yard touchdown from Norman to Dew, another 28-yard rushing touchdown from Dew to tie the score in the first. My thoughts at that point, Coach, was game on, and it seemed to be that way from that point on.
Yeah, and then we went back and forth there for much of the first half, and but we got back in the game. That's what was important to do there. Getting a stop and getting the offense back on the field without scoring, so we could start to catch up a little bit.
I never I know you'd rather not have this kind of feeling or whatever, be in this situation, but when the Rams are down, like I said, they've been down a couple times here the past couple of weeks. I mean, I don't ever see any give up. I definitely don't see any woe is me stuff, and they always seem to respond when they need to.
Yeah, absolutely. When you have an offense as prolific as ours is this year, you're never out of a game. You just got to get a couple stops, and they keep rolling, and we'll get back in game. So, having that on the offensive side of the ball and the production we've had there, it gives them that belief. But I also like to believe that they're going to play hard no matter what,
Right.
and they've done a good job with that.
Well, actually, the first quarter ended with South leading 28-21. There were 7 total touchdowns by both teams in that first quarter. It's a first for me. Have you ever been involved with a 7-touchdown first quarter?
I don't think so. I know our first year in 2010 when we played at South Johnston, we had another shootout like that. It was a little closer of a game, but I think it was high, like 63 to 59 or something like that.
Yeah,
a very high scoring game. So I'm not sure what it was at the first quarter then, but. So probably not, but there's been another South Johnston game right at the beginning of our history that was very similar to us in that regard.
The second quarter wasn't much different. 5 more touchdowns by both teams. However, the Rams were able to take a 42-41 lead into halftime. What kind of discussion did you have with the boys at halftime, Coach?
Just to keep playing hard, pick up the intensity on defense. We obviously had to tackle better. That was the biggest thing in the first half. We were in position for most of the plays. There was a handful of plays we just weren't there, but most of them we were there, and then we were missing tackles. So we talked about that. We changed a few things up on defense, and but most of it was just fixing the mistakes on the defensive side of the ball, and then offense just make sure they kept the ball
clicking.
rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, whatever was said, it seemed to do the trick, because I thought the third period was pivotal. The Rams actually held the Trojans scoreless in that third period and scored 21 points of their own. Momentum was back and forth, as we said, in that first half, but in that third period, Old Mo, as they like to call him, I think moved to the Rams side, and again was solely on the Rams side. And I think that was, again, from the adjustments that you made. I think from the the players' standpoint, I think they came out fired up that third period, second half. Got to feel good about that third period.
Yeah, the whole second half, though, the run defense was a lot better, much improved. And that's what they were killing us on in the first half. Into the very game, they threw several fades and caught a few and got a few pass interference calls that moved them down the ball. But when you take away at least one half of what they're doing well, it really helped. And they tackled better.
Yes.
I mean, you like to say it was the X's and O's and moving the Jimmies and Joes and all that stuff around, and we did some of that, but a lot of it was just getting the guy on the ground with the ball.
Absolutely.
And they did that better in the second half and kind of woke up. I don't know if they're half asleep because it was a morning game, but they deserve all the credit there, just playing a better second half.
Well, let's talk some stats now, Coach. Norman, 22 for 32 for 361 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran one in. As if I had to ask, how'd number 12 do for you?
Pretty good, and not only that, most of those stats came in the first half because we were trying to run the ball a lot in the second half to keep them off the field. So I think he threw for 256 yards in the first half. So great game. They played us in kind of a man coverage, zero coverage at times, and that's difficult to do with the receivers that we have.
Right.
And Caden did a
Took
good
advantage
job
of that.
So.
Well, on the ground, the Rams had 269 yards, 123 of those coming from sophomore running back Tyson Dew, including 2 rushing touchdowns. But not only did he lead the Rams in rushing, he actually led them in receiving as well. Hauled in 4 catches for a whopping 171, 3 touchdowns, gave him 5 touchdowns on the day. Just a monster game from Dew.
When they went that man coverage, that zero coverage, that put a linebacker on him, guarding him man.
That's
in
not
going
gonna.
to.
That's not going to work.
That's a tough matchup for a high school linebacker. With the way he's played, really, since the South Granville game on, he's really stepped up for us. And I think we had him for 131 in rushing, and so he had like a 300-some total yards and 5 touchdowns. So a great performance out of the sophomore. For us.
Well, on the other side of the ball, I know like I said, you noticed they're not crazy about giving up those 54 points, but I thought it was just some, again, especially that second half, some outstanding play from the defense. I noticed you already mentioned you made some second half adjustments. I noticed you move Kistner around a little bit, and actually talked to him a little bit after the game. He said that kind of allowed him to rush the passer a little bit more. So talk about some of that defense there in that second half.
Yeah, we moved him from the strong side to the weak side. We wanted to balance out our defense a little bit. They were running to our weak side a lot more, and more of our veteran players were on that side of the ball because that's what they had shown going into the game. So we balanced that out a little bit. We never rushed him on the passer, but that's what he thought.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah.
So that helps. But that was part of it, just moving the guys around so we had more veteran presence on both sides of the football. But we also put another D lineman in, and got a little more bulk up there that helped with the run game.
We got to give props where props are due, Coach. The Trojans, Fabian McDonald just gave us a fit all day. I mean, both the Patterson and McDonald, 234 yards rushing, 4 scores. I mean, he's quite a player. What can you say? Yeah,
great player. We got a little concerned when they moved him a couple weeks ago from receiver to running back because we knew he'd be a little more dangerous there. You get the ball easier. It's easier to keep the ball out of the hands of the receiver than it is a running back. So concerned about that because we knew he was the best player from last year. He, I believe, he had 2 big touchdowns against us in the first half and playing receiver. And when that game was tight, and and we were able to keep the ball away from him in the second half last year, and we kind of ran away with the game. So being a running back, you're able to get the ball in a number of different ways, and he's a talented player, and he's unbelievably fast, and what we found out, he's also strong. So
he is. Broke a lot of tackles.
There's a reason he's playing in the Shrine Bowl for North Carolina. So.
I mean, like I said, tackles breaking. I mean, he showed his speed and a couple of breakaways. I mean, he just, like I said, gave us fits all day. So anyway, so as we do each week, Coach, I've queued up some plays for us to take a look at, and I want you to step us through them if you would. First off here, Coach, we're in the first quarter, and this is Norman to do for the Rams' first touchdown.
Yeah, we had a feeling they'd shown a lot of man coverage, so we had put this in. We don't throw to the running backs a whole lot, but if we felt if they were going to play man coverage across the board, we like the matchup of him on any of their linebackers. So simply what you see here, running a shallow concept and the check downs to Tyson, and he beats his man and then breaks several tackles coming down the sideline.
I tell you,
where throwing it to a running back really helps, because he's used to making those moves and making those cuts once he gets the ball in his hand in the open field.
All right, still in the first quarter here, Coach. Very next series for the Rams, and Dew runs the next one in from 27 yards out.
Yeah, another great run. Could have taken up inside. O-line does a good job of paving that path for him on the inside, and he's got deceptive speed. When he's running, a lot of times it looks like he's just jogging, but he's actually taking up a lot more space than people realize. He's one of those long striders.
Yeah.
So he's able to turn the corner, and the receivers do a great job there also. When you ever have a long run, there's a receiver somewhere doing some
downfield blocking. Yep, absolutely. Big. That's a great point. Moving to second quarter here, Coach, it's the Dew show again.
Yeah, same type concept here. They're worried about the receivers, and then you get Tyson up the seam, matched up man to man, and here you really can see that speed, blowing right past the linebackers, making a great catch. Something he struggled with early in the year, but worked on and got better at, and that's one of the evolutions you see. Is he's playing like a sophomore, because he was at the beginning of the year. Now he's a junior football player for us.
Definitely took advantage of those linebackers. I mean, that was great plays all around from Dew. Still in the second quarter here, Coach. Trojans driving, and your defense gets a big turnover to stop the drive.
Yeah, they're running a zone read concept there, and the quarterback pulls it out late, and the ball hits on the ground. So a fortunate break for us, and Janathan Coward does a good job of finding the ball. He found two on the game. He has a knack for finding those balls on the ground and covering them up. So 2 fumble recoveries for him, and that was an important stop for us.
Moving on, still in the second here, Coach. Beautiful 33-yard touchdown pass and catch from Norman to wide receiver John Barnes.
Yeah, good ball fake. They actually have good coverage here. The ball fake, no one falls really for the ball fake and the pump fake, and they stay with their man. But a good throw and a good catch beats good coverage sometimes. So.
And I thought, again, Caden gets popped right straight up the middle, stays in the pocket, delivers a perfect ball.
Yep.
All right, just in case you didn't know it, Coach, speaking of Norman, you got a pretty tough quarterback here, evidenced on this late run in the second quarter.
Yeah, he hasn't had a lot of rushing yards this year for a number of different reasons, but he when he has the ability to get in the open field, he makes the secondary pay more than he jukes them out. He lowers his shoulder and tries to run somebody over, and that's what you see right there.
Yep. Great play. All right, still in the second here, Coach. Big defensive stop from your defense to force a Trojan punt.
Yeah, we flush him out of the pocket. We lose contain, but Tevin Sanders does a great job. He uses a lot of his speed right there and track him down from the backside, pressuring it. Jamal Hampton does a great job in coverage. They have a pretty dangerous receiver in the Smith #1, and he tracked them all day and did an outstanding job with them for the most part. And
thought he did a great job
when he breaks
here.
Contain there, that becomes a dangerous passing play, but Jamal does a great job of staying with them and batting that ball away.
All right, moving now into the third, Coach. Rams defense steps it up again and recovers a second Trojan fumble.
Another big play at a Tevin Sanders. We hadn't seen this play on film, so it's not something we got to practice. But he's got contain here, and there goes a contain breaker. So he just sprints out there, and to catch McDonald, in the open field is no easy task.
Absolutely.
Not only that, he gets his hand on the ball. He forced 2 of the 3 fumbles they had. One on the kickoff that we recovered, and he gets that one too. So good job of raking the ball out as he's tackling. Something that we've been working on all season. So when it comes out and shows on the field, it's something that makes you pretty proud.
All right, finally, Coach, we're now in the fourth quarter. Rams driving, final touchdown of the day. Norman to Jacob Scott for 29.
Yeah, great. Another great, very similar to the throw you saw to Jacob Barnes. He's got pressure, steps up underneath that pressure, which is not always an easy thing to teach a high school quarterback to step up to avoid it, and beats the one-on-one coverage of the post with the not bad coverage there, but as we said earlier, good throw and
absolutely
a great catch will beat good coverage. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Coach. Appreciate that. Next up, again, favorite play, favorite part of the show, our weekly awards. Who you got for us this week?
Yes, the offensive player of the week really goes to the whole offense.
I'm telling you. I mean, absolutely. What can you say?
Obviously, when you score that many points and you only punt once and you do all those things, there's not too many people you can complain about on that side of the ball. But with the
school
stats
record,
we'll give the player of the week to Tyson Duke. 301 total yards and 5 touchdowns. That's a good day. Obviously, there's a lot to choose from. When you pile up the yardage,
flip a coin almost.
When you have 10 touchdowns, there's a lot of awards to give out for that. But we'll give it to Tyson Duke for his all-around performance in the passing and running game. Defensive player of the week goes to Jalen Vizen, another sophomore. He stepped up for us for a couple of times. I think it was his second player of the week award. He probably was the best tackler throughout the day, and so we give him that award for even in the first half when we weren't playing that well. He was one of the guys that was getting in there.
Oh yeah, he was all over the field
and roll tackling and all the stuff that we teach. So he's a defensive player of the week.
Great.
The special teams player of the week goes to Bailey King. You scored 10 touchdowns. You got
wearing that bag a little bit.
Yeah, you got to kick 10 extra points. And being 10 for 10 in a single day is not easy. Matter of fact, we've scored 10 touchdowns a few times in Cleveland history. We never scored 70 points because we've missed
a few
points along the way. The snap hole and all that. So Bailey King gets the special teams player of the week for making
and kickoff. I mean, kickoffs, everything.
Yeah, he came in and did one of the kickoffs. We got a penalty and he got a touchback on that. So he's our special teams player of the week. The trenches player of the week goes to. Let me get this right. Colby Whitmer. Colby Whitmer playing tackle. He graded out as one of the best O linemen and did a good job for us, switching from guard to tackle this week with a few injuries that we've had. So, when you switch positions, it's a whole different world.
It really is. I don't think, not that I've played it, but I've seen and heard enough. I mean, that's not something. That's not. Just flip the switch. I mean, it's a big difference. So
to grade out as one of the highest O linemen, the same week he switched to a new position on the O line is a big task for him, and good job out of the junior there. The scout team player of the week goes to Connor Rice. We've had a lot of injuries to our defensive backs. We've had some receivers playing defensive back and some defensive backs playing receiver. So when we scout, all the defensive backs are on the field playing, and never complains about coming out. Does a great job playing free safety for us in the scout team, and did a great job of giving us a look at what South Johnston is going to do all week. So he's our scout team player of the week.
Awesome.
And the program player of the week goes to Traquan Harris. Teacher that complimented was me. He's doing a great job in weightlifting.
Great.
Really works hard.
Great.
But everywhere he goes, he's always doing things the right way.
Awesome.
And
he's a great kid.
Great kid. Not real big, but he's benching 210 pounds now. So
wow.
It's amazing what you can do when you work hard and you do things the right way. So he's the program player of the week for the work that he's been doing in the weight room and outside of the weight room too.
Awesome, fantastic. I love those. Okay, well, Coach, as we like to do each week, we didn't get a chance to do it last week, but wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity this week to spotlight a player or a coach and give the Ram fam some background information on them. And this week's again, I was able to do it this week. Had the opportunity to meet with another of your coaching staff, just a fantastic young man, and that was Mr. Wayne Stewart. Talk about Coach Stewart for us a little bit.
Not too young.
Well, I was going to say
he is a man.
He did. I gave him a little bit of compliment there.
No, Coach Stewart's a great coach. He actually coached me in high school. He was a defensive coordinator my junior and senior year in high school, so I always give him a hard time about being older. But no, he's an unbelievable coach. Great with the kids.
Absolutely.
In the school building, he's their graduation coach. Does a great job with that too, with the the at-risk youth, and but an unbelievable mentor to the kids is probably his biggest strength. He's also obviously very good at the coaching the football part.
Yes.
The two go hand in hand. So he's a great asset to have on our staff.
All right, hey Ram fan, I'm Jeff Garner again. I'm here with assistant coach Wayne Stewart. Coach Stewart, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. I know you're super busy, and but the Ram fan just love to hear from these coaches, and you are one of the best here. And so I wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you. I appreciate your time being here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the offer.
So just back up a little bit. You grew up in the area. Where are you from? Talk about that a little bit.
Originally from Somerville, South Carolina.
Okay.
Grew up in South Carolina. Played my high school football there. Somerville Green Waves back in the 80s. And
I hear you.
We were pretty good at the time.
Yeah,
so.
I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
Cool, awesome. So you did play high school, college ball. What kind of position did you play? Where'd you play?
Always been a defensive back.
Okay, well that's very surprising.
Always been a defensive back.
How surprising is that?
Played corner in high school.
Yeah.
Went on to college and played corner in college as well.
Awesome.
At Lees McRae first, and then finished at Gardner Webb.
Okay.
So being a defensive back's kind of in the blood.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, so what brought you to Cleveland? How'd you get here to Cleveland?
Well, we came over. I was part of the Hornet Central staff with Mark and Scott, and Joe and those guys. And when we had the opportunity to come over to the school when it opened, the entire group came over. Myself, Mark, Scott, Joe, and Kenny, who's gone now, but just came over with the entire group of kids or coaches.
Cool. Well, I know you're part of the counselors here at Cleveland. We already actually off cameras had a little minute to speak about that. But as a student advocate, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the job's basically dealing with kids who are at risk for possibly becoming high school dropouts. We certainly don't want any high school dropouts, but fortunately Johnston County has made it a priority and created this position for individuals to be in the school to deal with students who are struggling academically, but as well as socially, and also with other issues maybe outside of the school. And so the
that's
student,
amazing.
Just the advocate is the person that kind of steps in along with the help from the administration and the counselors to try to identify those kids and provide the support necessary to get them through high school, graduated, and with a diploma, so they'll have a better opportunity to go out and be successful and maybe change the narrative on the way that their lives may be headed.
Well, you already told me a little bit, but the plan wasn't necessarily to be a counselor all along, now was it? Now, how did that come about?
No, when we came over from Hornet Central, met with Ann Meredith, and the plan was to come over and teach business. But she, after a conversation, decided that she wanted to put me in this position and asked me to try it for a year. And I did, and 7 years later, I'm still doing it.
It's amazing kind of how those things work out, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you're actually one of the few coaches here that Cleveland that coach multiple sports. Again, you coach the DBs here in football, obviously. You're also the head women's track coach, producing some of the finest athletes that we've had. So congratulations with that. But
thank you.
Did you always want or plan to coach? How did that happen?
No, actually, coaching was one of the last things that I had in mind when I went to college. Got a business degree. My plan all along was to work in corporate America, and was doing that for the most part after I moved up to Raleigh in the Cary area, working in business. A gentleman that I met who was at the time the head coach at Cardinal Gibbons, and was an All-American at Penn State, invited me to come out and said he needed some help. Invited me to come out and coach, and that got me back in. And then once I got back in, the love for the game
takes over, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So football, is that the passion? Or I know, like I said, you do a fantastic job with track and all, but it's you lean one way or the other.
Yeah, it's definitely football. Football's the thing that kind of drives the passion, but it's more about what I feel football is, and what it provided for me as a young man, and the things that it provides for kids, I just believe it teaches us much more about life than it does about, playing games.
I cannot agree more. It's a great game.
Yeah.
It's a great game. It's fun, it's exciting and all that, but there's so much more that goes on than just X's and O's and is required of a player, of a coach. It's character, it's responsibility, it's I could go on and on. I know you could too.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. It's just there's a lot of things that go on where it comes to practice, relationship building, teamwork, self-respect, confidence, attitude.
Right.
All of those things are associated with not just being a good football player or an excellent football player, but being a good teammate, and possibly at some point in time, a great teammate in whatever corporation or whatever business, whatever thing you desire to do in life after high school, after college, however that shapes out for you as a student, and then as a young man.
All right.
These things can really help to build a foundation, that you learn in football.
Parent, brother, son, father, all the above.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, is there someone in your coaching past, in your history that has stood out for you, that really was a building block for you, or somebody that you look back on and I really attribute kind of what I am and where I am for this person?
Sure. Yeah. There's always, in anybody's life, there are people that are going to stand out. For me, one of the persons that stood out for me is my high school defensive back coach. He was a JV head coach when I was a JV player, and the year that I moved up to varsity, he became the varsity DB coach. We used to tease him behind his back.
Of course.
Because he was short, so we used to call him Coach Squat Man. We didn't tell him that till years later.
I was going to say, you probably broke that news a little bit later.
Quite a bit later, yeah. But, really passionate guy, really great football coach, really cared about you, drove us hard. But more so than that, he was instrumental in trying to get every single kid to understand that they needed to believe in themselves. And regardless of whatever the circumstances, whatever pitfalls, believe in yourself, have the confidence to push through, and you'll be fine. And that was one of the lessons that I learned from him specifically as my position coach that kind of drove me. And then after that, one of my college coaches, Charlie Harbison, who went and played some professional ball. He was actually a player at Gardner-Webb at one time, and has now coached at several very big schools. He's coached at Alabama, he's coached at Clemson, he's coached at Ole Miss, he's coached at Auburn.
Wow.
I learned more about playing the position from him than any other coach that I had, and he was an excellent football player and even a better football coach. So he was instrumental in really kind of helping me understand how to be a defensive back and how to play in the secondary.
Well, this is awesome because again, I don't want to embarrass you or anything, but I see every one of those qualities in you with these guys. Every bit of that. That's exactly what comes over in my view of how you relate to the players, how they relate to you. I see every bit of that. It all makes perfect sense now. It really does.
Well, all you have is your foundation, and you build on top of that. If you do your best to try and keep those things in mind that started you off on this journey, and then just continue to improve and continue to learn and keep an open mind, anything's possible.
Well, again, as you know, I've interviewed several of the coaches here so far, and one of the things I've mentioned to every one of them, because it's so true, is that just the connections that you seem to have with the players and the players have with you. It's just it's great to see from outsider looking in. I see all the X's and O's, and that's wonderful and that's fantastic, and I love to win games. I'm as competitive, and I know you are as we all are. I want to win them all, and I love those X's and O's. But what is most important to me is again the relationships that I see between you and the players, all the coaches between you. What do you attribute those connections to?
Well, as a former player, and then as a young man, trying to understand and then taking the foundation of what I felt like football taught me, teamwork, competitiveness, an attitude to not give up, to push through. I believe that those things are paramount and in line with what I've learned from my parents. And put God first. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. work hard. All of those things are important. But more so than that, family. And when you spend as much time with individuals as this coaching staff spends with one another, as these kids end up spending with one another, at some point in time, the things that you take away from this will go with you even when you don't think they will. And at some point in your life, it dawns on you that you're in a situation and you're going to get through this situation because you've been there before. And then you put the two together. Well, I did that during football season, or I did that when I was playing high school football. More so than that, enjoy every moment that you have to put on a uniform, because you're going to have to take it off one day.
Absolutely.
And that day might be after your last game of your senior year of high school. It might be after your last game of your college career. It might be after your last game, whenever that might be, if you happen to be one of the top 1% of athletes that make it to the pros. But more so than that, your life has to continue on and go forward. And if you don't take away the lessons that you learned, you're not going to do anything but stay stagnant and plateau. And plateauing is not an option, because then you eventually will start to go backwards.
You mentioned a word a second ago, and I got to jump on it. It's family. I love the connection that you have with your family. I know you bring your son out to all the games. I mean, he's just a fantastic kid. I love being around him.
Thank you.
But I can just, he looks up to you. I can see him watching you, every move you make. But again, that's just another attribute of yours that you've already mentioned. I mean, genuine, honest family man, and that's what I see out of Coach Stewart.
Yeah, well, having him around is really a pleasure for me. Occasionally, it might not be a good thing on the sideline, but those are real life situations. And as a young man in middle school right now, there are some things that he's learning from some of these high school kids that are going to be good, and some things that are going to be bad. And those are the conversations that we have. And it gives me opportunities to work with, teach, grow closer. But at the same time, it makes our players accountable as well, to know that there are other people out there looking up to them, even when they may not realize it.
One of the things I mentioned to Coach Riley that I was going to talk to you about is, and again, I don't know the words to actually describe it, but the best I can do is you're the calm force. And that may be I don't know if it's a contradiction in terms, but we've got a lot of coaches here that are, in your face, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. It works for them. Whatever works. But you're a little different. Again, you're the force, but it's a calm force. And I think the players jump on that. They accept that. They appreciate that. I see you more on the sideline, just like me and you right now. I mean, I don't, I mean, you get hot. You get hot.
Once in a while.
Once in a while. But again, it's a conversation. It's not a speech. It's not I'm getting all over you. This is what you did. This is what I can do to help you. That's what I see, and that's what I appreciate. And I think the kids appreciate that.
Well, coaching is teaching. And quite honestly, yes, there's a level of intensity that you have to have in order to be successful at this game. But at the same time, you can't always take that level of intensity and turn it into just aggression. At some point, you have to step back and teach. And if you want your players to respect you, but if you want your players to learn, you got to teach them. You have to talk to them. You have to relate to them. And if you can't do those things, then I don't know how successful you can be in this business.
All right. Well, you absolutely, you do a fantastic job with that. I mean, I definitely see the communication. I definitely see the connection. And again, that's completely goes to the kind of person you are, kind of coach you are. And I personally appreciate it, and I know the kids do, really do. Well, a couple more, Coach, and I'm going to let you get out of here. Again, you've already talked about it a little bit, but coaching requires a lot more than X's and O's. You've already talked about it. What other things do you think that you have to have as a coach, as a teacher, as a counselor? I think, and you've already talked about it a little bit, but expand on that a little bit.
Well, I think you have to, one, if you're going to be a coach, if you're going to be a teacher, counselor, whatever you're going to do, it has to come from a place of sincerity. What is it that you bring to this particular job? Right. As a coach, you need to bring passion for that particular game, but not just passion for the game, passion for the ability to teach the game in such a way that it is going to be acknowledged and accepted and taken in by the players and the individuals that you come in contact with. The other thing is that you have to be serious about wanting to reach the kids that you're trying to teach. If you're not serious about it, they're going to see through it. If you're not sincere, if you're not genuine, they're going to see through it. And once they see through it, then you got no chance of reaching them.
Well, that's like I said, that goes right back to the words I used earlier that I think describe you: genuine, honest, family man, teacher. And again, I appreciate it. I know the Ram fam do. I know they've enjoyed this. It's been great talking to you. I know you're busy. Thank you so much for being here,
Jeff. I appreciate it. Anytime that you need to have an interview and you need one of these guys is too busy, give me a call.
You got it, brother. Hey, thanks a lot.
Okay.
All right, back to you guys. Okay, Coach, we're back. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's talk about this week. Rams are back at home this week in the third of our 5 Two Rivers 3A conference games. This week we take on Triple S, as we talked about a little bit. We're still recovering from the effects of Hurricane Matthew with the school schedule and such. Are we back to normal prep yet?
Well, by 2016 standards, this is about as normal as we can get. But we weren't in school on Monday. We still practiced. 2-hour delay. On Tuesday, we thought we were done with that, and then we have a wreck on I-95 that's so bad that it has caused a 2-hour delay today. But yes, as far as the preparation, we're back to a normal schedule. Game planning on Sundays and practicing the whole week. So in that aspect, yes, we're back to a normal schedule, which is cool. Good. So hopefully everything goes off without a hitch from here through then.
Well, the Spartans are coming in struggling a little bit this season. They're winless on the season, 0-8, 0-2 in the conference play. However, I'm sure you and the rest of the coaching staff, Coach, are telling players not to take Coach Wes Hill's Spartans lightly. Again, as you said, they do play us tough, and they always do, and I don't expect anything different.
Yeah, when you have a rival that close, the kids are going to play a little bit harder than they usually do, and they're improving. They almost stole a game Monday. They score 5 seconds left. They get the 2-point conversion. Matter of fact, they wouldn't need the 2-point conversion. They kicked their extra points. They had a penalty on one of them, had to back up, and it got blocked. So very tight game there with Western Hornets. So they're improving at the right time of the year. So they're a dangerous team. They're on offense. They're a wing T team, but they're out of a gun most of the time. So that adds another element because the quarterback becomes a runner. So
exactly.
Instead of having to, in wing T, you got to defend 3 running backs, usually the 2 wings and the fullback, and you back the quarterback up, and he can run the football too. Now
adds another one.
You have 4. So adds a wrinkle to our usual preparation for a wing T team. And then we should be familiar with their defense. They're in a 3-3 stack, which is what we typically employ. So a little familiarity with what the angles and those kind of things with that from practicing against ourselves, so 1s versus 1s. So hopefully that'll pay off.
Awesome. Well, Spartans heavy with senior leadership. Just like this past week at South, the Spartans bring in 13 seniors, 10 juniors. We say it each week. You can't make up for that senior leadership. I mean, it's so important at this time of the year.
Yeah, we knew last year that they had a lot of the playmakers they had last year. That the fullback gave us fits last year. He's back, so a lot of their playmakers are returning to them. So they're going to be a dangerous team. And they want to win out and make a shot at the playoffs.
Absolutely.
So you have to treat that with respect and be ready to play.
Okay, Ram fan. Well, there you have it. Time to turn it up another notch. I know I say it each week, but that's the name of this game. I mean, we got to turn it up as we continue our goal for hopefully another conference championship. Next up, Triple S here at home. It's homecoming for Cleveland, so that will also make it an exciting night for you, the Ram fam. Kickoff 7:30 right here at Rams Field, but it'll be a packed house. So obviously get there early. We'll certainly be covering every play as we always do. We'll be right back here next week, but we need you there, Ram fam. So. Coach, again, I know you're excited. It's homecoming. I know all those kind of festivities play into it, but there's a ball game to be played, and we need another W.
Absolutely. We're excited about it. One other thing that our players brought in a bunch of supplies for the hurricane relief effort, and they did a great job with that. It's asking them to bring it in Monday, and we filled up a whole storage room of stuff, and that you really like them to contribute to bigger things than just football.
Yeah, it's much bigger.
And we'll be collecting money at the game, so if you guys come, there'll be donation boxes there, and we'll send that off to the state, and they're going to distribute to athletic programs that have been affected.
Thanks for mentioning that. I had forgotten about that, but you're exactly right. Yeah, we'll have donation collection area at the booth when you come into the gate. So we'd love to have any donations that we can take.
The state of North Carolina is going to act as a clearinghouse, so 100% of the money goes to athletic programs. Obviously, there's a lot of things to help out, but being an athletic program, we like to see the schools that are flooded and and down in Lumberton and Kinston and Goldsboro and those kind of areas
hit very hard.
Tarboro, get back on their feet because they have some proud football programs and proud athletic programs all around it. And I'm sure those kids are looking forward to getting back out there and playing, so we want to help out as much as we can.
That's great. Well, good luck this week, Coach. Again, thanks for your time. I know you're busy. We appreciate you being here again. Look forward to covering another game for you and hopefully another big W, and we can move forward.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, Ram fan. Again, see you Friday night, 7:30 right here at home. Until then, go Rams.